Hi. So I just wanted to talk about this little different look at schizophrenia. And first and foremost, with all the, being politically correct and everything else, I have to say that I am not a doctor. I am not giving advice. I am not fully 100% educated. And this is more like for entertainment purposes only, or just discussion. But being more of let's say psychic and working with people that have experienced schizophrenia and people who have been drugged down, brought to the nut houses and other things, it's just amazing that a lot of people who have that, they have a lot of entities and beings in their space. And it doesn't mean that like sort of they're infested with them, but more like people who are diagnosed with this schizophrenia, they actually have an amazing perception. They're not crazy, they're not mad, they just have an amazing perception. And what I mean is, they can see beyond what normal people see, hear beyond what normal people can see. And more by normal people, I'm saying that most of humanity is being suppressed and our senses of perception are sort of in the cage. It's in the box, limited, and it cannot go beyond that. It is suppressed. And for people who have just, let's say, less case or less oppression, they're able to perceive much more, which is why some people, let's say, would see energies and auras and entities and ghosts and all the other things. They can just see beyond the physical, which is actually what should be normal to us, but is what's limited right now. And there's tons of things happening in the world that will mess up people's ability to have the perception. Pineal gland getting calcified and everything else, the thyroid, and it just keeps on going. The list is massive, but the video is not about that. The thing is, like getting a chance to talk to those people that have had such experiences, and like people consider them crazy just because like, hey, I'm hearing beings talk to me. Well, you're not crazy for that. You have an amazing perception. We should celebrate that. We should explore that. But if people talk to others and like say, I'm just like sitting here talking to you, but I also like no one's in the room with us. To you, it seems that way. But actually hear like a few people talking over there. The conversation can be crystal clear. It can also be like gibberish. It can be yelling. It can be weird voices. They can be just whispering and all. And with the few people that I have had a chance to work with, like 10, 15, exploring the subject, I don't have a full picture on it. I just have a few pieces of the puzzle. I'm still exploring it myself. And I wish I would understand the subject better. But some of the things I've noticed with it is that when we addressed those beings that they could hear and see, and let's say identifying them, it's like, okay, well, what is the voice that you hear? Is it male or female? Well, sounds closer to male. Okay, does it seem to have a certain personality? Or what is that male voice saying? Well, they're actually very loud and yelling a lot. Okay, so this male that's yelling, right? So we just kind of sort of gave it an identity so we would know what we're dealing with exactly. And then the person who is having a schizophrenia is actually having a great perception. We're just going to put the auditor's hat, the psychologist, the life coach, so to speak. And the person who's hearing all these voices is going to be the listener now. And hey, well, how can I help you? This guy is constantly yelling and has this harsh voice and all, and you would have a conversation back and forth. Try to see if those beings that you hear can communicate with you. And having my chance to work with those that actually can hear them out loud and have the whole conversation crystal clear, it's amazing when you're asking the questions and the person just hears what you say, and that is enough for the other being that's talking to them or just talking in their space to answer back. And you can have a whole conversation back and forth and find out that this being that's yelling and is really expressive, this male entity or figure, is just in their space. And let's say their physical body dropped dead, but they haven't realized that they have died. And for hundreds of years, that guy that has died didn't know he was dead. And he was stuck and he was trying to talk to people and no one would listen, no one would react. And everyone he would try to interact with, no one. So he just became super angry. And finally, there was this person that could hear him, that would react for some reason. And he would yell, and the person would go like this, or try to talk, or like, well, fuck you. And they would have a conversation, or they would yell back at each other. But finally, someone would engage with that being. And that's the most amazing part, is that when you start having a conversation and asking like, okay, well, what are you so angry about? Why are you yelling? And you understand the whole picture until the being talking to you, oh, damn, I died. And then they get the realization. And then from then on, you can help them out by creating them a realm, or asking like, hey, what do you want to do from now? It's like, think of the afterlife. What would you like to do after death? Do you have a religion? If you buy into religion, would you like to go to heaven? Like whatever fits that being, whatever he wants. And it's amazing to just have people talk to them, have those conversations. But that's not like, it's just one of the cases I've had. A lot of people coming here on Earth, past lives, we've lived for so freaking long. We've done all kinds of things. And some of us, before coming on Earth, we're doing some good stuff. Let's say being healers, being engineers and creators, and helping people sort of to get out of certain realms or worlds that were attacked. And like now, a lot of beings sort of put that reputation or see you as, hey, this being as helper. They can help me move out of this place. So people who have had a certain history of helping others before coming on Earth, it's kind of your reputation. It's kind of your career, so to speak. Like we know some celebrities, we know musicians and singers and painters and artists and, like all of these things. And we look at like, okay, well, that field, there's this one being that we admire or we know and we really like. That's you. That's you in your field. Whatever you were doing, you were great at it. And with that, a lot of beings will sort of be attracted to you, like to a magnet. And you are like just living, existing here on Earth. And all these entities in your space are actually a lot of beings that are just like, hey, well, he's supposed to help us out. She's supposed to sing us and help us change our vibration and move on or whatever. And, all of these cases of people I was dealing with, there's a story there. They're not crazy. You can talk to those entities and voices they hear and find out that like, hey, if you find why they're staying in your space and help them leave, I've had quite a few people who shut it all up. All these voices disappeared because finally they understood like, oh, beings that were in my space, they were stuck and you can free them. A lot of times, we're being shoved the medications, or let's say we try out various things. Maybe you're trying to get out of body. Maybe you're just having fun. Maybe you're trying to get some spiritual realizations. So you're trying DMT or weed or ayahuasca or some other things. And for some people, it works. It's great. Other people, well, they overdo it, or they've had a wrong way of doing it. And oops, they burned their energy shield. And all of a sudden, whatever's been protecting you and keeping all those entities away, now it's all open doors and they just come to you. And I think of those entities or you having a better perception, you are like a shining light in the darkness. A lot of beings see you. See, the person that doesn't have that kind of perception, if you see the physical world and you cannot see the energy, the auras, entities, spirit guides, and all of these things that are out there, if you can't hear beyond the physical, if you can't hear the weird whispers or people talking and all the stuff, I'm not talking about physical, if there's a person in your room or your neighbor or something else. No, something that's not in this physical earth world, but it's, let's say, in the astral, in the etheric world, in another realm that's like sort of like, hey, if you were to change your vibration and shift your frequency, like people are expecting to move to 5D, no, it's just a perception. How much can you perceive? And others can actually hear way more. They can feel and taste and everything else. So if you're aware of these things, you are like a shining light in the darkness. A lot of those beings out there in their own worlds can see you. And they can see you as a person who would react to them. Some are just like kids, little bullies, let's tease that person, let's see what happens. It's like kids over here on Earth see the anthill and gonna take a stick and, oh, what's gonna happen if we do this? Or what's gonna happen if we use this like thing and just like, let's see if we can use glasses to burn something or whatever. It's kind of fun. You're exploring. A lot of beings see us like that. What's this thing doing? Bonk, bonk, bonk. And all of a sudden, having perception doesn't mean you're going to go nuts crazy hearing voices. All of a sudden, your intuition, your perception, you are going to pick up their thinking, their feelings, their thoughts, and all the stuff. So whatever those entities and beings have, if they're in your space, you might not be aware that you are sort of misidentifying what you have. And a lot of those thoughts will push you and redirect you. They will have some sort of weird shift. Let's say you might not be a religious person, and all of a sudden, some entity or some being that has passed away and is hanging out with you is religious. And they're going to push you into, I need to pray to God. I need to go to the church, or, I should live in a more humble way. I should get rid of all of the stuff I have. I should be all into minimalism. In a lot of these ways, we like as entities, like they might have their own case. It's not all of us. It's not all of your issues. I mean, yeah, we have to own our stuff. We have to be responsible for our own issues, for our own case, whatever we have handled and come up with our life. We have a case. We have a lot of experience, but there's also some of the things that don't really belong to us that we misidentify. And this misownership causes problems because all of a sudden there's a lot of these emotions and feelings and things in your life where it's going to be like amplified, so I don't really have a point, or maybe if there's a point is that, calling someone schizophrenic, it's not a disease that should be, like just take some pills and you're going to be fine. I think like it would be amazing to explore this, to see if like, hey, well, what happens if we're going to talk to those voices and see if they can leave your space? Or if you're seeing faces, what did you look like? Can you talk to them? What did they respond to? When did they appear? The timing? And just exploring this, it would be amazing if we would find out, like, hey, are people actually having a great perception with whatever happened to them, whatever is the case? Why do they have that perception? And can we have more people opening up their perception, or actually at least being able to deal with it in like lots of different ways without shoving down pills to their throat and like, oh, now you're fixed. I don't know. But I just wonder, like, if you have, like, if you know someone that has schizophrenia or is dealing with it or has friends like that, what's their life like? Have they ever told about entities, the voices they hear? What kind of experiences have they shared? Or if not, like, hey, what do you think about this whole case? Schizophrenia, how would you deal with it? And all that. I don't know. So I'm just talking here. I just get like a chance to talk with some people, that have this sort of label thrown onto them, and without really getting a great understanding, it's just like, okay, well, we think this is that, and we're going to treat it with pills. And I'm just like, I'm no doctor. I don't have this license, or if I'm going to fix you, I have a cure. That's bullshit. But I'm like, let's just see what happens if we do this. And it's amazing because people change. So anyway, that's my video for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.